Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network.
Good morning. I'm having a big hot cup of coffee of what the heck? What a week. I can't keep up. Somebody said it's Wednesday.
Yes.
Jeez Louise.
Indeed, it
Right.
is. Yes, the day
All
after
right.
the stormy, testimony. Pardon me. Okay, I'm back.
What?
So we just had Elie Velshi on. And, he said the most interesting thing. We were, talking to him about Gaza and about the campus protests, yada, yada. He said, I wasn't aware until a few weeks ago that I had to be either pro-Israel or pro-Palestine. That's the way I've always felt. It's like, can I be both? Because it's, as he was saying, there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of, I was asking him as a journalist. I was reading one tweet to him, Malcolm, and you have talked about this a lot too. Someone tweeted, this happens over and over again. Right-wing agitators infiltrate leftist movements, cause violence, and politicians and the media blame the protesters. This has always been their play. When they can't find actual violence to expose, they create it. The media is abdicating their duty. I mean, there are outside agitators, but there is also some anti-Semitism, and there is, I'm sure, a lot of people that have deeply held beliefs about ending this war and helping the people of Palestine. So what's your take on that, first of all, having written about January 6th and all of that?
Well, certainly we've seen that during the summer of George Floyd. There were deliberate outside agitators that came in.
Black Lives Matter.
The first destruction that occurred in Portland, Oregon, in Wisconsin, was a man going around smashing windows, plate glass windows, with a ball-peen hammer. He was later arrested and identified as a conservative agitator, right-wing agitator who, wanted to see fighting. Now, we cannot discount the fact that some people do agitate on their own. There are a lot of people who are anarchists, and anti-imperialists who have these agendas that have been going on for decades. These are people who are nothing new. Like we saw the millionaire who was arrested at Columbia University, who has a $3.2 million house in Park Slope, was inherited like $20 million from his father, and was wrestling and fighting with the janitor as he was taking over the building at Columbia. So we need to recognize those factors. There are professional agitators, but we also need also discuss the people who have firmly held beliefs and are willing to, put their bodies out in front for public awareness. And that's welcome also.
Yeah. I was mentioned your book, They Want to Kill Americans, but about January 6th. I mean, that's where they tried that with, these are all Antifa and left-wing agitators. Right. This is not real MAGA. I mean, so this is the thing. I mean, we've seen this before. It's interesting. Axios tweeted, a new poll shows the hints that the war in Gaza and the accompanying protests might not hurt Biden's election prospects among young voters as much as previously thought. I think the thing you've been writing about ever since, warning us about Russia before the 2016 election is that, there are forces that want nothing more than to get Trump reinstalled. And so I think there is some of that too. And we hear this clickbait all the time. So-and-so fill in the blank group is not going to vote for Biden. Right. Right. But, that Putin, Netanyahu, they all have one thing in common. They want nothing more than Trump back in power. Right.
Absolutely. I mean, this is, wrote a whole book about this in 2016, 2018, 2020, 2022. There is an axis of autocracy out there. China, Russia, Iran, Venezuela, other moneyed interests, the global oligarchy, which is hilarious because I see these young kids protesting against imperialism and empire. They are not the major ideologies that are running the world. Money at an insane multi-billionaire level. Oligarchy is running the world. There are places that you don't need passports to go to if you have money. You have influence. Russia had so many oligarchs, they were buying American elections to a certain extent. So the recognizing these shifts, these forces and waves that impact our lives also impact some of the things that are being, most popular on TikTok these days, because being a chaos agent is what the oligarch class, the global autocrats want. Because the more instability against democracy that exists, the better they have to divide up your nation and end 248 years of democracy to establish the first American dictatorship.
Yeah.
So whatever your personal interest and concern is, you have to weigh it against that. And apparently college kids do.
Yeah. I wanted to get your take. George Takei, interestingly,
George.
Yeah, loved his point. He said, above all, the American people must understand that the consequences of electing a leader under criminal indictment are vast and damaging. A prime minister or a president more interested in saving his own hide won't care who he endangers or what system he wrecks in pursuit of his own get out of jail free card. That's clear in Israel, and it should also already be clear to the U.S. electorate. I mean, I've made that point before as well, but I thought that was interesting.
Every week, it should only be hammered into everyone's heads, and if I have to be the guy to do it, I will. We are talking about dictatorship. George Takei was raised in a concentration camp as a Japanese American who was detained on suspicion that the Japanese American population wasn't loyal enough. And it was done by, let's be honest, a liberal president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, at a time where people were very afraid of them. And it was wrong. Wrong. Now imagine a Donald Trump doing that to every Muslim American, every Black American that supports, that opposes him, every liberal. I mean, when I wrote that book, They Want to Kill Americans, I wrote it in 2020 because I thought that if Trump lost, these people would be, if Trump won, these people would be self-appointed deputies around the country that will police you, that will actually determine your behaviors. Well, guess what? This November, that could come true again. We could have people out there in the streets with their Trump convoys and their guns now thinking they own the country, your rights, and will implement law against you at any turn. Which is why we need to be a little more sanguine about what the stakes really are versus the emotions of the day.
Yeah. Frangela talked about this, I think, in Philly on panel about, some right wing, I don't know which one, but basically said to an African American person, we're going to own you again soon, so you can shut up. I mean, this is a white supremacist candidate, first of all, who is openly talking about internment camps and et cetera. So you retweeted former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh, who we just had on a couple days ago. Let me stipulate, I have hated Joe Walsh way longer than I've loved him. But he made an interesting point that you retweeted. He said, it's just so wrong. 7 months ago, Hamas invaded Israel. They started this latest war. They targeted, killed, and kidnapped civilians. They used their own civilians as human shields. They fight out of hospitals and schools. They steal food and aid meant for their civilians. They reject every ceasefire deal, refuse to surrender, won't release the hostages, and the world turns against Israel. The world criticizes Israel. It's just so damn wrong. I do get that point of view that, this war the Middle East has been going on for 11 billion years, right? And you're like, what's different now? Well, what happened 7 months ago with Hamas is what precipitated this. You can agree that, Israel, it's an overreaction, but what has happened? That's what's different about what's happening now. What is your take on that on October 7th? And
Well, I went to Israel. I went to all of those kibbutzim where people were massacred. It appears that out of sheer emotion and strength of propaganda, and this is nothing against people who are advocating for the children of Palestine. I lived in the Muslim world almost 40 years. I've shot the machine gun at all of my Iraqi guys' weddings, which is the most honorable thing that you can do. I've lived and gone to shrines and mosques and prayed as a Muslim. Let me tell you something, okay? There was a precipitating event that broke 2 years of calm. And if you ignore it and say, well, 78 years, blah, 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 then you are showing your own inhumanity. I got to tell you something. The thing that got me the most, and everyone has a point or an event that they see that that galvanizes them to want to take action. It was a video that I saw that has now just recently been re-released on Twitter or YouTube of two Israeli children that were in the back seat of a car. Their mother had just been shot in the head in Sderot. A policeman runs up and the children see somebody with a gun coming up and they start screaming, "Don't kill us, don't kill us." He starts shouting in Hebrew, "I'm the police." And then they say, "Rescue us." And he goes, "My little baby brother's in here." It was a 3-year-old and a toddler in there. Their mother was murdered. But here's the kicker. The policeman that rescued them, whose voice is breaking, ready to cry, was an Israeli Arab policeman who was there to rescue the people of his country. And we need to understand that when terrorism strikes, and this is the perspective I come from, you can't stand with the terrorists. You have to view the humanity of all sides.
Yeah.
And what's happening now is, it's horrible that there is war. And I want the war to stop. All right? Big advocate for ending this war. But you also have to understand the realities of a situation you can't control.
Yeah. Well, I made the point that, Ukraine didn't attack Russia and there was lots of innocent Ukrainian women and children and, civilians killed,
50,000 so far.
Yeah. So let's just quickly, you wrote a piece, over 80% of Hamas has been decimated. The last fighters are hiding among the 1.5 million refugees. Can Israel rout them without a civilian bloodbath? Oh, God. So obviously, couple of big stories. U.S. has paused bomb shipments to Israel among the Rafah assault dispute. Israeli forces have seized the Rafah crossing in Gaza. I know you were over there, obviously, a while ago. Just give us your take on what... I hate this whole story, but just give us your take on what's happening and what's going to happen next.
Let me just give you the straight geopolitical skinny of what's going on. Israel is doing a phased operation at Rafah, and I was just on a Twitter space with John Korikis, the former spokesman to the IDF, and they're doing what I predicted in the Substack that I wrote yesterday. And if you haven't subscribed to my Substack, do it. I know bunches of you are quitting because I don't go along with your philosophy. But what's happening now is Israel is pressuring Hamas. They seized the humanitarian crossing, which Hamas was seizing all of the food. Now, today, 200 trucks came in through that crossing that are unmolested. On the other hand, the Biden administration is stopping these JDAM bomb guidance kits of going to Israel. I don't know whether it's because we're short of them ourselves or whether they are just sending Israel a message to be very careful about how you proceed from this point.
Yeah.
Rafah has not yet been fully invaded. They are moving people out slowly right now, and we shall see over the next weeks whether this war is about to end.
Oh, God, I hope so. Quickly, so obviously the really bad news, the classified documents trial is postponed indefinitely. Malcolm, am I crazy? Did he not? A lot of CIA agents were killed, and that obviously we don't know the whole story here. Can this just go away? Something of this magnitude?
If Donald Trump wins, yes, this will go away. He will abuse every lever of power. He will just order, whoever he makes his attorney general. And right now they're talking about Stephen Crazy Baby Goebbels Miller as potentially the attorney general of the United States. And just order every trial ended. That's federal. And the release of almost 1,000 convicted criminals who attacked this nation on January 6th. This country can go bad quickly if everybody sticks to your own little corner. We've got people out there going, "I'll vote for RFK Jr.," who just admitted he has brain worms.
Yeah.
He admitted he has a dead worm in his head.
That's right.
And also hepatitis C and also
he literally
mercury poisoning.
Yeah, he
Pardon?
did.
He did.
He did literally say that.
What?
That he had a dead
He has a dead
parasite.
worm in his head.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Just saying.
yeah.
Vote accordingly.
He said it was eating his brain.
We're super late. We got to go. I love you. Goodbye. Shouty McShouderson.
Subscribe to his Substack.
Shouty McShouderson urges you to vote. Guy's got a dead worm in his head.